David, those are all the issues in the mix. There's a lot to fix. The minister keeps making the right noises, but the question is what's he actually going to do about them?
South Africa's mining sector has been in terminal decline for many years. As the world recovers from the global COVID-19 crisis, what are the opportunities inherent in rising commodities prices for South Africa and its mining sector? Well, joining me to discuss is Peter Leon, who is a partner at the law firm Herbert Smith Freehills. Peter, welcome to the CRA channel. Could you tell our viewers what is the state of the South African mining sector at the moment, and what policy and regulatory issues are holding the sector back?
Yeah, hi, David. Good to be with you. Look, the thing that's obviously helping the sector enormously is the huge rise in commodity prices, particularly commodities which are used for the green energy transition, such as platinum and palladium, and obviously in Zambia and the DRC, copper and cobalt, which are not really commodities we have much of. We certainly have some copper, but no cobalt. But the PGMs are just booming, added to which we also have iron ore, which is also exploding. And this is all a result of both a combination of Chinese demand and the green energy transition, which is a major issue for OECD countries, the EU, the US, North America, and the rest of it. So South Africa is very well placed to take advantage of this, and you would have seen that in the budget this year, the government was able to find another 100 billion rand that they weren't expecting to receive, and that's a result of the mineral royalties and mining taxation. So coming to your question, so from a macro perspective, the industry's in a very good space. The problem is, and this is a problem we've had for years in South Africa, actually since the promulgation of the Mineral Petroleum Resources Development Act back in May, June of 2004, and the Mining Charter, the regulatory issues have bedeviled the industry, and that's really caused by what we lawyers call and economists call regulatory uncertainty and predictability and lack of predictability, which has really stymied the sector, and growth in the sector has been despite all these impediments rather than because of them. And that's really been driven by global commodity prices. The advantage South Africa has at the moment is that actually, if you look at the mining industry in economic terms, the last 10 years have almost been, until recently, pretty much a bear market. So mining companies have been very, very concerned about their capital expenditure, about their balance sheets, be very hesitant to make greenfield acquisitions and the rest of it. I'm talking from a global perspective.
Enjoying this analysis? Click here to sign up for our 30-day free trial for more content from the CIA.
So, Peter, could you identify specific issues where the mineral regulatory framework in South Africa is holding the sector back?
I was looking at something this morning, and it's pretty horrific. I mean, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy have now indicated into Parliament that of 400 applications for the transfer of rights, which you need under Section 11 of the Mining Code, only 40% have been granted, 60% have not been granted. So that's the first thing. And then in addition to which, there's a massive permitting backlog. There are 2,485 prospecting rights, 235 mining rights, and 1,644 permitting applications have been held up. The department says as a result of COVID, dysfunction in some of the regional offices in Limpopo and Mpumalanga too, which were closed for a period. So you have all these issues, added to which you have this another issue, which I have discussed previously. In 2011, under the previous administration, under the Zuma administration, actually the department came up with a good idea, and that was to create a online mineral application system, what we call a mining cadastral system, which would be online, so everybody could apply electronically for rights. And actually, the department said at the time, we're not going to accept any more paper applications. And there have been many cases, one involving Kumba and Imperial Crown Trading, you might remember, about 10 years ago, where, rights were suddenly, applications were suddenly taken from one party's application, put in another's, and there was a lot of basic, what's the word, in Afrikaans, I would say, vernuikere, in the regional office. So this was designed to try and address that. Problem is, system came online in April 2011, and it has simply never worked properly. I have said to the Department of Mineral Resources a number of times, why did you fix the system? Because it's not fit for purpose. No one can see what other people have applied for. The system often breaks down. It's not a proper online cadastral system. And the response has been, and it's also been the response has been given to Parliament, well, we're going to fix it. Gwedi Mantashe, the minister's now said, oh, we're going to get it done by the end of August. But this has been a problem that's been around, David, for 10 years. It still hasn't been fixed. And I want to put this in context because actually the World Bank have rolled out in most African jurisdictions. I think 60% of the jurisdictions in Africa are World Bank funded, where the bank actually gave countries money to create an online cadastral system. And most of our neighbors have them. We don't. And actually, there's a company in Cape Town, I think, called Spatial Cadastre, which develops these systems. So, you don't even need to import them. And I simply don't understand why it has taken the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy 10 years to fix a system which is basically dysfunctional. So, having an online cadastral system is a first step. The second thing I would say to you is that what should also happen is the mining code, the MPRDA, should be amended to introduce mandatory time limits. And the third thing that the government and the department need to do is remove backdoor discretion from the Act altogether, because if you have backdoor discretion, you're always inevitably going to have delays. And if you have strict time limits, well, that will make administrators more efficient. Instead of which, you have basically dysfunction in the department. You have a dysfunctional online portal in the form of SAMRAD, and you have a lot of discretion in the Act. Added to which, that's not bad enough. You've got all the issues over Mining Charter 3, which have been in court at the beginning of May. The Minerals Council, formerly the Chamber of Mines, brought a judicial review application to set aside some of the provisions in Mining Charter 3. They were held up because the court, I think probably quite rightly, said last year when the application was before it, that you needed to join all the communities who may be affected by this, which they've now done. The hearing's now taken place. I'm not involved in it. I don't know what the outcome is, but it was a full bench of 3 judges. And I suspect it will take some months for that decision to come out. But the thing is that whoever succeeds, the losing party is almost certainly going to appeal. So we're probably in for 2 or 3 years of further delay around the mining charter. And the issues really there are 2 broad issues. One is around the transfer of renewal rights, where the government or the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy have refused to accept the notion of grandfathering those rights. So if you renew or you transfer a right and your empowerment partner has sold out previously, the right would have to be re-empowered, which doesn't seem to make sense because they've grandfathered everything else. And the second thing is the procurement provisions in Mining Charter 3 around the procurement of goods and services are excessive and probably violate South Africa's obligations under the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. So, in a nutshell, David, those are all the issues in the mix. There's a lot to fix. The minister keeps making the right noises, but the question is what's he actually going to do about them? And just my final comment would be, he's correctly said in his one of his speeches recently that South Africa he'd like to get South Africa up to 3% of global exploration expenditure. At the moment, we're at 1% of global exploration expenditure. I mean, about 20 years ago, we were 10%. So it just shows how, how the mighty have fallen. And the other thing is that every year just before the major mining event in Canada, which is known as PDAC, the Fraser Institute in Vancouver, which is a think tank in Canada, comes out with a report on mining sectors around the world. And in the last year, I mean, previously a year or so ago, we were 40 out of 79 countries surveyed, which is actually a pretty good figure. But I'm afraid last year, in the last survey, we're down to 60th out of 77. So we're sort of slipping back into being bottom of the class. And I think the reason we moved up to 40 was that when Gwede Mantashe came into office, he made all the right noises. He got the MPRDA amendment bill, which was very problematic, withdrawn from Parliament. He finalized the mining charter. It looked as though things were going to move in the right direction. But I think a combination of COVID and maybe dysfunction in the department have stymied those efforts.
Peter Leon, thank you very much for joining us on the CRA channel. We've linked to Peter's article in the description below, as well as in the pinned comment. Let us know your thoughts on the state of South African mining. What can be done to turn the sector around? My name is David Ansara. This is the Centre for Risk Analysis. Until next time, take care.